Very good morning to you all. Uh, Today is our second day, and then we are planning to discuss SME banking and SME products, especially into the SME area that we are going to start. So first of all, please let me know whether you can hear me. Amila?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you. So we are yet to get the other people on board, but in the meantime, I will just brief what we have done last week. Last week actually was a kind of our first interaction. So first day, so then we mainly discuss about the syllabus. So syllabus falling into four main areas. So introduction to the project financing, development financing. Then we have an area called SME banking. Then we have another section which is microfinancing. Then the final and major area is the project financing and project appraisal. So out of the four sections, the main weightage is with project and project financing. Again, the other sections also important because time to time we are getting one or two questions in the past papers. So that's we discussed about the syllabus during the first session last week. Thereafter, we briefly discuss about what is project financing, what are the features, the nature and importance of the project financing. Then we discuss about the types of lending or the categories of lending which we can find in day-to-day banking. So that's all about what we have discussed last week, which is not a longer session, but we wanted to give a kind of introduction. So in addition, so we try to understand each other. So many of you all are into the banking except one person. So let's see that today also we have 6 or 7 people on board here. So let's see when the others also joining on the on board. So we'll discuss further with kind of further inputs and further explanation. So as I informed you last week, so if you do have any questions while we are delivering the lecture, please raise the question through chat or through kind of a voice call, so that we will be in a position to answer, I mean to clear those kind of doubts then and there. So having said that, so we are moving to today's session. Today that we are trying to understand about SME banking. What is SME? Why SMEs are important? What do you talk about SME banking versus SME lending kind of concepts? And most importantly, so we need to understand what are the the products available in the banking book among the banks in order to support the SME. So you may be hearing so many things about SME. Maybe the government, maybe the regulatory authorities like central bank and all that, and maybe through the budget. So we are hearing a lot about SME. So we need to answer so many questions like why this is SMEs are so much important. So let's try to make a kind of a discussion on SME banking, SME lending, SME products. So within the presentation today, within the session today. Okay. Right. This is what basically I'm trying to discuss. Definition and importance of SME. So what is SME banking? What is SME lending? Then rationale in developing financial products for SME. Why that? What's the basis? What's the justification in giving away products for SMEs? And then current market trends in financing SMEs, where you can find which is fast evolving financing methods. And finally, depending on the time, so we will discuss about financial products, maybe the selected products, but you can read through the kind of the number of products I have given. So could be important for exam purposes as well. Then generally, SME has been defined, in various methods, various ways. If you see the top left-hand corner, SME can be defined various ways by various countries, but there are some common parameters. It could be like number of persons, amount of capital investment, amount of turnover, or nature of the business, like that. There may be some parameters. Some may have been used a combination of these parameters, or some may have used a single parameter to define SME. So before that, we'll have a kind of sub-discussion. Why we need the kind of a definition? Do we need exactly a definition? Any thoughts among the audience? What do you think? What do you think? Why we need to define SME? What is the purpose? Any thoughts from the audience? Why we need to define? Just you may give you idea. Amila.
Yes, sir, to know the scope of the particular area, to know the scope, where it, what is the expansion of it. Basically, to know that we need to have a definition.
Yes, yeah, you are correct. Because why we need to define in the sense, yes, you were mentioning about very good word there, focused. Because now, let's say, when you say in broad, small, medium enterprises, or you may say small, medium industries, it's like that, it's very vague, right? So it's very vague, then you don't know where to start and where to end. When you say generally, yes, SMEs, right? Then again, as supporters to this sector, so you need to see whether exactly who are these people, just to understand and to make sure that you are, doing a right thing to these people. Focus effort. Because when you, if you take in general also, in your personal life also, when you are trying to say a kind of definition of what you want to be, about your ambition, about your career growth, so you have some earmarks. So this is what exactly that area that I want to play. I want to, make my goals achieved. So these are the boundaries like that. So then it's easy to focus, make strategies, and then see how, the strategies are working. What are the things that we need to do right, or what went wrong kind of exercises. So everything is possible when you say this is area, right? That's what basically we are trying to define that. So having said that, I must say, do you think it's an easy exercise to define and identify these SMEs? No, it is not. Worldwide also, we don't have a universal definition for SMEs. So because it says how difficult to define, it's time to time, it's keep on changing, one thing. And as I was telling, there may be several parameters also. Number of employees, amount of capital, turnover, nature. So basically there may be several parameters also. So then it's not easy job also. But you need to do it. Because otherwise, if you're not going to define, if you're not going to understand what exactly this SME is, then we are unable to focus, strategize, support this important sector. So we'll discuss why the importance of those things in a bit later. But if you see it in general, in SME is something, an intermediate segment in business. So before that, you may have a micro entrepreneurs, enterprises. So the micro will move to small, medium, and upper medium industries. Then these people move to corporate segment. So if you are like taking this as very important segment in this business community, you may understand, because a micro enterprise or entrepreneurs move to small and medium segment, and when they're doing well, then they move to the corporate segment. So this is like a intermediary set of people. That is also important, because if you think that, you know, I'm not going to fund SMEs, probably are taking a very wrong call in your banking, because majority of these people are in business segments are SMEs. So micro to SME and SME to corporate. So very large segment, important segment. Then you need to, that's what the definition is very important again. So there should be a cutoff. Where are the micro, where are the SME? Or rather, SME to corporate. How you identify the corporate and where are the SME? Because when you understand the SME, or at least define SME, which helps you to have more focus, because it needs bigger support from the authorities, regulators, than the corporates. So that's why we need to understand the definition. Just to discuss a point, because the importance of, you know, defining. If you see World Bank, they have defined an enterprise where number of people is less than 99, it could be SME. And if in Sri Lanka, if you see, there were quite number of definitions has been used from the past, like fewer than 50, capital investment less than 5 million, Department for Small Industries, identified at SME. Or as per the Export Development Board, investment fixed asset less than 8 million, annual turnover 50 million or below, then it was SME. Then central bank sometime back, they defined annual turnover 600 million or below, it's SME. But it has been right now, threshold has been increased. What is the present turnover in defining SME as per central bank? Any idea? What is the threshold? Anybody can suggest? What could be? What could be the annual turnover? It is 750 million. If the turnover is 750 million or below, could be identified as SME. So that is the prevailing definition available in Sri Lankan market. So if examiner ask about the definition for SME, so you can mention SMEs could be defined as per central bank definition, where turnover is, annual turnover is less than 750 million. So that could be the latest definition in terms of identifying SME. Okay. So again, coming back why this is needed is basically it can be mentioned where to provide concessionary financial facilities on a targeted basis, on a focused basis, where they may be needing funding at concessionary rates because they are the one who contributed a lot in terms of GDP development, economic development. So they need a kind of a support in terms of low interest rates. Number two, specific business development service. Because SME, so they are engaged in different business activities, but you can understand and identify which is most required at a given time. So these days, we talk about export-oriented development, agricultural-based development, industries-based development. So you can understand, identify those sectors and give a focus support. So in order to do that, this kind of a definition is required. So different times, different organizations are trying to define micro, SME, corporate. It is still evolving, time changing. That's why you see a different number of definitions coming at any given time. Maybe central bank would say this one, or maybe a credit line governed under central bank would define SMEs differently. Why? Because they wanted to support a kind of a segment after pre-identification. That is to ensure, the support is intended and support is transparent and the support is useful to bring up those identified segments. So in that sense also we defined SMEs, but most accepted definition right now, if you go by the central bank, is annual turnover 750 million or below would be considered as SME. Right. Before moving to the importance, any questions up to now? Any thoughts? Any questions? Any questions? Okay. I know it's not a great difficult area, but if you do have any questions, please let me. Right. Now we move to imports. Generally, if you take left-hand side, SME sector considered core segment of economic development, or SME sector contributed heavily on GDP contribution. Some stats, though these are a bit outdated, but generally it's true. In a country, in SME economy, what you sell 70% of plantation sector, so 85% of rubber, 100% of paddy, 90% of coconut are, small holdings in the economy. So if you take a number of people, 26% of the total population is the SMEs. If you take businesses, 70% or more in a country falling within SME. Maybe SME contribution, 2011, 52%, 40%, 2010. Recently, it's something around 65%. If you see the right side, SME role in economic development, what are the things they would do? Creating employment opportunities. I mean, this is important because sometimes this right side, the examiner would ask about what are the contribution, role played by SME in a market? So those are some of the questions we can expect. So make a note of that on the right side, the role in SME in economic development. Creating employment opportunities. One. Mobilizing domestic savings. What are those? Like now, when you say a corporate unit, corporate company, yes, they do provide jobs, but it's limited. Because if you see Sri Lanka as a country, not many corporates are available. Very limited in terms of SMEs versus the corporate. There are limited number of employment opportunities, but SME, not like that. There are a large number of entities. If you take a garage, small restaurant, a boutique shop, I mean, everything you can see SMEs. At least this single unit of SME business can provide maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 number of opportunities in employment. So like that, when you take collectively, they provide a lot of employment opportunities. So that's what we say. They support creating employment opportunities. Mobilizing domestic saving. That's again important thing. Because since a large number of SMEs are there, they do value addition, what they do, when they execute in their activities, and they get the money, and it is in the form of savings. In a country, you talk about consumption, investment, savings. So this savings is supported heavily by these SME units. Third, poverty alleviation. So that helps to reduce the poverty level of economy. Because why? Now, if you take Colombo, we may say a poverty-stricken people are maybe 5% or maybe 7%. But when you go to a place like Monoragala or maybe Vaunia and so on, those areas, the poverty-stricken or the poverty-driven population could be very high. Why? Because income distribution or the GDP adequately not spread out. So many issues, infrastructure issues like that. But hence the corporate are not moving. But SMEs can still operate because they don't want that much of infrastructure. So hence they create employment opportunities. They do value addition. They support domestic savings. So in that way, you can reduce the poverty to some extent. Let's say if the SME is operating in Monoragala and you can source some employment opportunities then and there, so they get some money by working that place. But if they even willing to come to Colombo and work and get some back, may not be enough to maintain their life, because I mean, going some transportation cost to lodgings to other expenses may not be met through the income they are getting when they move in from there to here. But if they station at wherever they are and engage in SME type of organization employment, then they are, the other lifestyle is also not being impacted while earning something. Sorry. That way you can reduce the poverty. Then income distribution also could be managed, could be supported, because SMEs in large numbers, and then through SMEs, this income could be distributed among so many stakeholders. Regional development, another item, because government cannot do everything alone. even top end private sector also may not be in a position to do that, but large number of SMEs operating within regions can support the economic development, social development, regional development. That's another support we can expect from SMEs. Training of workers and entrepreneurs, because since, as I was telling, so many numbers, they can be trained while working. It not be very professional training, but they can, learn something, ABC of what they are doing, and then they can, go to next level, because initial level they have learned something. Creating environment in which large firms flourish. What it mentioned, what it says, because there is a bigger factory and there will be small SMEs outside, spread out in an area, where these small SMEs can provide some inputs to this bigger company. So otherwise, the bigger company, the large company, has to source those things very remotely if they don't find it in closer by. But when you have SMEs in and around you, could be useful for you as a bigger company to source some of the things that you need at a lesser cost and more conveniently. Then the both SMEs and the bigger corporates can grow. Finally, contributing to export earnings. Let's say agriculture, but so many people engage in agriculture at SME level. Together, you make a large impact. So then you can meet the export demand, which you can bring dollar income to your country, export earning to your country. So basically, this talks about why, SME, or rather, what's the role in SME in economic development through stats and through qualitative activities. So very important, because examiner would ask us, in several times he has asked as well, about a role played by SME, but the contribution in SME in economic development, regional development, countries development, a contribution towards the GDP. So this is the answer that you need to give. Maybe 4 or 5 items would do. While you can write it, also you can support with the kind of some further one-line statement like what we have discussed here. Right. So before moving to the next slide, any question on this? Any questions? These are not difficult, but you need to understand those things, because when you get those type of questions, you can easily score 5 marks when it comes as a sub question, but you need to be conversant with these aspects. As I was telling last week, you need to maintain kind of some documentary, maybe data support to this development financing initiatives, SME, microfinancing, development financing, or maybe budget proposals kind of thing. I mean, so many things that you can get through day-to-day papers, articles, and all that. So get those things and will be useful in terms of development financing. Firstly, for the question paper. Secondly, for your career development or knowledge enhancement. If you have gone through the last week news, just after the budget, the government or the finance ministry has circulated some budget proposals immediately in operation. So there may be so many things that we can get as development students, development financing students. They talk about concessionary loans to government servants, and they talk about private and government servants housing needs at concessionary rates against the EPF ETF balances, and maybe a support to youth entrepreneurs, right? And about some agriculture, about some milk industry support. Was anybody available to get those data? It was on the social media. Did anybody able to find those data or that readable those reads? Anybody seen those things? No? Dilanja, Hansani, Malaka, Oshani, were you able to get those notes? There were 2 or 3 page article was on the social media. Hope that you are in some WhatsApp groups also. No? Actually, there are several WhatsApp groups formed like among students, like 200 or 250 students are there. So try to log in one of those groups, basically that will share some of these important information about banking trends and all that. So let me know that if you're interested, because I can add you all. There are 4 groups. One of the groups you can join, and then could be useful because more students share this important information wherever they get. So could be useful that if you can join it, right? Okay. Then we will move the rest, like importance of SME in economy. So basically, this slide talks about the contribution to GDP sector, and what are the industries, what are the sectors. Not very difficult, but just for your information, where SMEs in services sector, SMEs in agriculture, SMEs in manufacturing. But if you see this, I mean, in almost all industries, is represented by the SMEs. You can't say no to any industry, except 1 or 2, but almost all industries, if you take in Sri Lankan context, are represented. SMEs are contributing in all those, almost all these sectors of industries, right? I will take 1 or 2 examples. If you take agri, paddy, tea, rubber, coconut, fruits, minor, poultry, and everywhere they are there. If you take paddy, so many SMEs are supporting to paddy cultivation, and some SMEs are into paddy milling also, and some are bit of value adding to the paddy also. There are several business activities in this life cycle, and then they can add value at different stages. If you take health service sector, health services, so you can see so many people, not in a major level, but they can do support the health activities in country. Now, recent example is we have experienced so many people engaged in manufacturing health gear, or maybe mask, or some other kind of supports, right? And then you talk about tourism sector. Yes, there are hotels, 5-star hotel, 4-star hotel at corporate level. But SME level also, there are some people who engage in tourism sector, which again give support to, let's say, tourists or local or foreign tourists. And they also earn something for themselves and also in terms of economy. Because now, if you take a 5-star hotel, they can't provide everything to these tourist needs. They also need different things would be supported, would be provided by this SME sector. So like that, in overall, SMEs play a very dominant role in economy. Fine. Fine. So that's all about SME definition, contribution, importance, role in countries' development, economic development, economic growth, GDP perspective, things. So I have given you very small introduction, like tip of the iceberg. So it's up to you to get further information on this area, because this is keep on evolving. This is keep on evolving. So you can get those information through central bank articles, paper articles, budget proposals, or you can refer statistical department website, EDB website, or different banks websites. When you are free, just go and see what is there for SME. What is their approach toward SME? What are the things that they do for SME? What are the the new initiatives they are taking to uplift the SME segment? I mean, so many things you can find. When you are reading those articles, you'll be able to get more insights to the small and medium enterprises. Right. Any questions up to now before moving to SME lending and SME banking concepts? Amila, Tarindu, Shani, any questions? Any thoughts? Any feedbacks? Dilanja, Malaka, any thoughts? Any contributions? All are okay? Yeah, Tarindu, thank you. What about others? Any unclear areas or further clarifications? Thank you, Oshani. Thanks, Amila. Right, great. As I was telling you, if anything that you think it's important for others, thanks, Dilanja, just let me know so that we can discuss, and further that we can add more value and get the information. So since that, just wanted to share that if you do want my number there, just hold on it. You can see the board. 773 977 876. 773 977 876. But if anybody wanted to join that one of the groups, please let me know, because there are a couple of groups students have formed, so that you can join to those WhatsApp groups, and then most probably you also can share, and you also get the information from the others sharing. That's all about, they call exam support groups, where sometimes you can, get those articles whenever you get it. Then you can share and get the knowledge among yourself, right? Okay, back to session, right? SME lending versus the SME banking. Hope that you can see the screen. Give me a minute. Right. What is SME lending and what is SME banking? Right. We need to understand two concepts, right, which could be important. When you say SME lending, it's something that you try to fulfill a customer need at any given point of time, but it's something one-to-one. Say, I am a customer engaged in running, say, 2-star, 3-star hotel. Now I go to a bank and say, yes, I am so and so. I want a loan to put up another floor to my existing hotel. And then can you support me? So happily, the bank manager accepted my proposal and say approved a term loan and so granted. So I am now getting the loan and completing my construction. So I am happy with that. So thereafter I am settling monthly dues. That's one proposal. Similarly, if I want a lease facility, I go to another leasing company and say I want a lease facility. So I get it done and then that's it. That's all over. Then if I want to do my working capital, I go to another bank and say that it's good to have kind of some overdraft because I'm getting day-to-day collection so that I can deposit. And whenever I want a urgent money requirement, I can use the OD. So I go to another bank. So for the time being, I have 3 banks. For my term financing, I have 1 bank. For my hire purchase leasing, I have another financial institution. For my working capital, I have another institution. So for me, it's a hassle because we have 3 financial institutions in terms of customer. In terms of bank also, so they say, so I'm happy because I'm very good at, term lending. And then, it's a project financing. So I'm happy because I have done it my job and so they are paying. So I'm happy with that. Then maybe the cash flow capturing bank would say, we are not very much good at, term, but, it's good that, our funds also supported to like a short-term propositions. So working capital financing. So we are happy with that. And the leasing company would say, we are expertise on leasing. So we have granted. And so then if further lease requirements, we are happy with that. So for the repayment support, yes, we can get some post-dated checks or dated checks from the particular operating bank. And then, so our repayments are ensured. So 3 different propositions. So at the status quo, maybe bankers, financial institutions are happy. Maybe borrower also happy. So if you see this proposition, this arrangement, this is like one-to-one. Maybe development banker dealing with the investor only through a term loan. They don't know what's happening in the cash flow, what's happening in the operations. Similar with the working capital. So they don't know about what's happening in term and their future investments, what their growth plans and nothing else. Just to say the cash flow capturing OD, so fine with that. So basically, this type of relationships are called SME lending, or type of lending. One activity, one financing proposition. But is it the requirement? Is it the correct thing? Do we expect something more as banks, as entrepreneurs? What is your thought? What's your thinking? Is it today's banking requirement, or that we do further on that? Have we managed our risk adequately by doing one-to-one banking? What do you think? Yes, we have been doing these things in past. So is it relevant in today's context? What do you think? Especially, have we managed our risk by doing this one-to-one type of banking? Any thoughts? Subramania, what do you think? Answering, what do you think? Is it the right thing? Or can we do better than what we just spoke about? Any thoughts? Tarindu, what do you think? Just doing one-to-one banking would give, first place would give you a adequate benefit or enough benefit. Plus, would it reduce your overall risk or not? So yes or no question? Amila? Any thoughts? Hope you are hearing me, right? Oshani? Malaka? How do you think? Whether, like, this type of lending, maybe one-to-one type of lending, will it be adequate in today's banking context? If you put in that way, yes or no? Dilanja? Any thoughts? Roshika, what do you think? It would increase the risk. Yes, Malaka, you are correct. Tarindu, from bank's point of view, yes. If you think about bank's point of view, will it be sufficient? Will it be adequate doing this one-to-one type of lending? Or do we need to better? As Malaka was telling, yes, it would increase the risk. Why he was telling like that? Because let's say if you do only development banking, like I give only a term loan and come to my place and I'm waiting month-on-month payment. What is the risk there? Because I don't know what will happen, what is happening in the business. Because I'm not capturing the cash flows. But better if I know what is happening in the day-to-day business also. What you can do, then you need to introduce a commercial banking also. CASA with the particular institution. Then the cash flows are coming, cash flows are going. Not stopping that. If they want like lease or whatever hire purchase facilities, if you do have a leasing arm, so you also can support them also. Yes, Sarindu, you are telling something called single borrower limit. I agree. But if I say the single borrower limit is very high if you compare to this particular SMEs, like if your capital is like 10 billion, so 3 billion you can go up to the particular entity. But let's say within the single borrower limit, yes, still you can do a lot of things, right? So what we are discussing is here is, rather than a bank where you give one product to one customer, you can do multiple product to single customer. So that is we call banking as against lending. Lending we say is one-to-one. Banking is something many-to-one. So when you come and say many-to-one, is we call SME banking. SME banking. If you see this, now not only lending products, you try to do cash management services, leasing hire purchases, insurance, CASA liability, fee-based activities. Now how comprehensive this chart now? Say a single customer financial needs being looked after by a bank, subject to all whatever this SBL and all that. But we talk about SMEs here, maybe we talk about 50-60 maximum exposure. But when you are doing this type of activity, what could be our argument here is, because you can minimize your risk by accessing customers A to Z business operations. Now you know about their long-term needs, you know about their working capital needs, you know about their capex like leasing hire purchase, you know how they do cash management, you know how they do insurance and their fee-based activities, and about liability, current asset, current account, savings account, minor products and all that. So now you have a control over everything. If something happening in day-to-day businesses, you come to know that immediately than waiting for the month end. So otherwise you wait for the month end and you are not getting the repayment, then you think about what's happening. But here it's different. You try to get those things noted well advanced. So that's what we call a banking. So many organizations today are into this. If you see, every bank trying to do couple of things with respect to a customer than one single product. They try to capture cash flows, they try to capture their CASA, cash management, term financing requirements, on everything. Then you have a better hold in terms of risk also, in terms of income also, in terms of managing the customer also. Right. Hope you understand that. These are not different or difficult, but just want to give a kind of refresher to your knowledge so you understand it better, and then you can make sure you also in the same wicket, same base, same page when you see these activities happening in your bank. Right. Right. Before moving to the rationale, any questions on this? I know this is not difficult, but this is what you see in and around day-to-day banking. Just to see the concept is where, rather than you are doing a one bank, one customer, you try to do one bank, one customer, one product. Here, one bank, one customer, and many product. Now you minimize your risk while safeguarding the bank, other interest to liquidity to single borrower to all the other things. But better you offer many because you have a better control or better risk management proposition is in use. Then we see what are the rationale. I think last week we discussed these categories of lending. So here it is coming again to understand the rationale in designing financial products. Because as a bank, as we discussed last week, we have different types of lending categories. They could be asset based, cash flow based, fee based, volatile based, project based. I mean, so many number of financial products categories. But important is you need to understand how we are going to combine those things, how we are going to offer these for selected customers while minimizing your risk. So that's what we say the rationale is this one. When you say security based, mainly you think about the collateral, maybe overdraft, standalone term loan, maybe owning, gold loan, cashback loans. So you think about security. Cash flow is something you see the short term. My main intention is to capture cash flows, like channel financing, like factoring, distributor financing, supplier financing, posted checks, and all that. So where you try to attack working capital, you worry about the short term return, short term focus. Then asset base, where again leasing, hire purchase. You focus mainly on the asset, value of the asset, then about the the repayment and all that. But the main idea is right: vehicle, type of vehicle, brand, country of origin. So you will look into those things, valuation, and then you focus and you arrange kind of financing requirements, financing products. Finally, fee base like letter of credit, bank guarantee, insurance, CASA management, where you focus on fee. So depending on the customer profile, customer segment, industry segment, you can develop your products in one of these lines, or maybe combination also. As I was telling you last week, you can combine the fee versus collateral base, asset versus fee. There's no harm, that there's no requirement to do that. One product, one type of product category to a selected segment. No, it's up to you to decide while minimizing the risk and maximizing your income, profit, those things. But these types of things are available, and you can choose one or many of these as a combination. It suits the customer as well as bank's requirement. But I want to say this because just you don't give a product to a customer. That's what I'm telling. Say customer, and then you think about what should I do in terms of, say, defining or rationalizing these things. I mean, just will give you a kind of some thought where when you are like trying to learn this, you can develop. You can think about this type of thing. I will hope you can see the board. Let's say if you say this is the type of the customer that you are talking about, customer maybe we have here maybe sectors, sector 1, sector 2, sector 3, like that. So different segments. Then you can see about some further one, the type of categories. It could be fee base, it could be collateral base, it could be asset based, it could be cash flow based. Right? So you can develop this side, right? Then you have something about purpose, maybe activity 1, activity 2, activity 3, like activity 4, activity 5. This is about they are into working capital, term financing, maybe export financing, and maybe about agriculture. So like that, there may be activity, business activity also you can have. And then what else we can say? Then it could be something about type of products. Term loan, POD, post-data check discounting, factoring, LCs, bank guarantees, STLs, import loans, packing credit, project financing, like that. So you also can develop something like this in day-to-day decision making. And this is not the only sort of thing. I just came to my mind and just wanted to give a kind of model. So then you have to think about let's say it's agricultural customer coming here. Then agricultural customer, so into say paddy milling, probably they might have collateral based of financing. I mean, whatever say activity could be paddy milling, some machine required. Agricultural customer, they need some working capital, or they might do some bit of value addition like exporting it. So there may be 3 segments is represented. Then you think about whether they need fee-based type of products, collateral-based type of product, or the combination. Then there may be something. In part here, customer may be here, and then asset and cash flow and here, then activity 3 here, then product could be something about STL and term loans, right? Or maybe about some exporting, also doing a bit of LCs. So it's like this. Now customer is represented here, 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 right? Right. All right. Now you can see that the particular customer requirement, whatever banking products, so represented these areas. Then you think about how we are going to match this requirement while through our learning. So minimizing our risk. You can say this customer may be individual, maybe company, partnership. So there you think about the nature of the particular customer. And based on that, say collateral, what are the collaterals available? And so company director guarantee, if not machinery, maybe land building, right? Those things also there. And then about cash flow. Cash flow is something where there may be some post-data checks. So if they are providing to like corporate, there may be cash flows can be assigned. It's like here. So when you say their activity, it could be agricultural, but again, long-term financing about color sorter, some kind of machinery coming here. When another could be a working capital. They need money to purchase paddy, right? Because you need to store for about 6 months or so. So then there will be a pledge type of arrangement here. Then you see what are the STL, it's a pledge. If they do some value adding and exporting, export LCs could be supported. Term loan, 5 to 7 year term loan because they want to purchase some machinery, right? So when you see this, when you are mapping this, you know what exactly the customer requirement, whether you have that product, what are the product features, right? What's the type of category of lending, what type of activity they are doing, what sector they are talking about, what type of nature of the customer, like individual to like that, company and all that, what is the risk profile and all that. So everything you could be learned here. And one shot it gives you a picture. Then very easy to map your strategies, how we are going to address those things. That this is like small model. I mean, I just came to my mind and I want to share it with you. But you can fine tune this. You can add some more things here, and you can interchange these things. Maybe sector coming here, fee base coming there. Activity could be like this. The sector to activity to category of lending to product to like that also you can go. And then the final could be something about, say, a final could be terms and conditions like this. Maybe it's terms and conditions. What are the security to cash flow capturing conditions and all that? Here terms and conditions, right? So you can interchange this. Let's say activity could be going in, this categories of lending coming out. It's much it's good. Like you have a customer with some kind of sector, and then under main sector you have subsector that's what they do activity, and then there may be a type of lending, type of products, and then you have conditions. What you are saying, what are the terms and conditions you propose to when you structure in the credit. Right. Any questions up to now? Not difficult, but you need to understand this in a big picture. Then memorizing a particular product and right, so that might not be useful. The examiner would ask in past papers we have seen, say a customer in agricultural financing, and they want if you are a banker, that if you are providing or if you are supporting their working capital needs, what discuss about 3-4 products to support their activity while minimizing the bank's risk. That is a kind of question. So you have to say maybe STL is a product. Then you will write a kind of a short note based on these categories. If you know this, you know what the customer, what is the sector, what the activity, what is the type of category we can do, what is the product that available, and what's the terms and condition. So 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 lines you can easily print. Then based on this, so you can map up your product. Otherwise, when you say STL, you say STL is like this. So may not be useful when it comes to the particular context. Examiner would ask about this segment, this type of customer, this activity. Now discuss, right? A product development. So you need to answer that type of question. So when we do some kind of past papers, we will discuss those things for sure, but just wanted to think it this way, then memorize it, then say these are the products. Yes, we need, I have given also, but when you are going through these products, but make sure there is a model behind that, then it's easy. It won't go away in your memory. Otherwise, maybe closer the exam, so you will read, and so we'll write it somehow, but just after that it goes away from your mind. But if it comes with a kind of a model like this, then it will therefore long. Then let's say your manager come and ask, can you develop a product for say this segment? Now recent past that we have seen, government has come up with concessionary loans to purchase apartments which are built by the government organizations like UDA and all that. So the eligible sector could be, eligible customer base could be private and public servants. So Bank of Ceylon or whatever these government banks are eligible to give 6 to 7% loans. Now you need to develop a proposition. How are you going to do that? This type of activity will be useful for the customers segment, what type of activity they are doing, what is the type of category, what is the product that you are talking about, and then what the terms and conditions. So everything is here. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines to get the 5 marks. Just thought about that example. Who are the customers? Who are the customer in that proposition? Any idea? Who are the customers? Government and private executives. So you have identified the customers. A segment, basically a consumption need, because they want loans to purchase apartment for the housing needs, right? And then what are the activities they need housing? What type of activities? Possibly to purchase a house at a before construction. That's a one need. Or they maybe need a house to purchase a condominium or completed house. Or it could be something to settle one person and get another loan. Or it could be something a value addition to an existing house. So those are the activities. 4 or 5 activities. So I have done that. Then what type of category? It's basically asset-based lending, right? Collateral-based lending, because we are getting a tripartite arrangement where bank, UDA, and prospective customer. So 3 of us together put a signature to agreement, say UDA is supposed to complete it, I am a bank, I am supposed to finance it, and he ultimately he has to pay back. So these are the 3 people. So why we go for the tripartite arrangement? Because right now there may not be a house completed. It's being done. So that's a legal agreement and you do it. And what type of basically product? It's a term loan. Then tenor, security, pricing, and insurance, cash flow assignment, salary assignment, everything coming as the terms and conditions. See how easy to develop a product. So because every time we need to have that type of approach. Now this, since that we are learning about SME lending, banking, definition and all that, that's fine. But the questions are coming in this nature. He would ask about what is SME, what is definition, what is important, role, contribution, all are there. But in addition, he might ask about defining, describing some products, selected products. That also important. So you can go through the product category and get an idea. That's number 1. Number 2 could be, he might ask this type of questions also. So you might be given particular custom segment and you have been asked to discuss a particular product applicability in terms of this case study. So you need to know that. Now we are going to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. So in order to do that, you need this type of some template, a model. This is what I just suggested, but this is not the fine-tuned one. You can start your own and think about how I can do it. So tomorrow when you go to office, when your manager, senior manager, regional manager ask about, can we think about the proposition, finance this segment? So what do you think about? How will you go about that? Obviously, if you start like this, then you come up with, so many things about marketing to how what the competitors doing. So everything could come in here, because now otherwise you just see your competitor doing and you try to replicate here. May not be feasible, because this is your own thinking in the context of your bank. Say if you don't have, say, 100 of branches, probably if you have only 15 branches, what is your communication methods? It could be something over internet or whatever. But if you have 100 of branches, through branches or through whatever something, or maybe some marketing, those things organized by centralized. If 250 branches, could be through branch network. So based on that, a proposition could be now changed. The offering could be, the methodology of the offering could be changed. So you think that also. So those things will come when you are starting this type of a model. Okay. Any questions? Right. Any questions? Right. Then move to current market trends. Now, this is about SME. We talk about SME lending, and then we move to SME banking. And stemming from SME banking, we also can see some new trends in the SME or general banking trends. So what we are trying to do is, we now have focused more on cash flow based lending, cash flow capturing, cash flow improvements. Example, channel financing, working capital financing, supply chain financing. We can name it in different ways, but important here is we try to focus, capture, monitor cash flows. Why? The collaterals are limited because you can't expect every customer to provide asset collateral as a security. Hence, you try to focus some other things like cash flows. So that again, it's going in line with SME banking versus the SME lending. Number two, you try to increase the fee income. Because if you see these days, interest rates have come down drastically. Hence, the margins are diminishing. So you may not be able to get more margins like you were getting before. Then you need to focus more on fee income. So in order to do fee income, you have been asked to focus on, say, trade finance activity like import, export, and you focus on insurance about, banca and all that. And you have focused to, bringing down remittances from the foreign labor, because this way you can increase your fee income. Because when you talk about the fee income, it's like totally you are getting as income, because for this you need not to set aside a capital as against the net interest income. If it's NII, so you have to give some capital out to earn something. Give a term loan through capital out and then you get an income. But when you say fee income, you need not to give a capital out. It's a contingent liability. It's a bank guarantee, letter of credit, shipping guarantee, performance bond. Yes, if required, if it is converted, yes, there is. But majority, you are not giving out cash to get income. Maybe income is lesser, but as compared to risk, it's low risk product. So increase the fee income is another type of focused area these days. Then asset-based lending also we consider like leasing hire purchase, where because it's backed with asset, it's CASA, sorry, it's leasing hire purchase, gold loan, cashback loans, which also has some tax benefits like in terms of leasing and hire purchase, and also a gold and cash, where the risk levels also has come down because it's backed with some asset. In case of a default, you have something to fall back. Last one, cash management and CASA. Because when you focus on cash management and current account and savings account, so you have a low cost funding, right? Because then focus on fixed deposit, term deposits, it's good that you focus current and savings, especially current account, where you have now low cost fund because margins coming down. So you need to source for low cost. So that's ideal product is current account and savings account. And cash management is also beneficial to customer, whereas gives you a fee back, because you are managing for the customer. So that again help you to retain some cash within the bank, whereas your liquidity level could go up. These are something that we see as the present trends in the market. Because based on these lines, bankers are taking new initiatives, strategies, right? So we talk about, cost cutting and all that. So why those things are coming now? Because we are not getting adequate income. On top of that, so we have given some moratorium to customers also, some concessions due to pandemic and all that. So that again reduce the income to bank. Then we try to capitalize on other areas to earn income through net interest income and fee income. That's what is the proposals. Right. Finally, lend the product that suits the borrower's need, not necessarily what the borrower asks for. This is very good proposition or rule of lending, where you need to arrange the product to suit borrower's requirement, not what he's asked. So he might ask, for the working capital, I want a permanent overdraft, because it's easy for him and easy for us also in terms of operation. But ideally, it is not the correct thing to do. If the borrower needs working capital financing, you need to make sure what is the best product that you can offer to support customers' working capital requirement. Example, a customer's working capital could be stocks to creditors to debtors. If the customer wanted financing debtors, he asked about POD, it's not the product. In terms of financing debtors, the ideal product would be post-dated checks, bill discounting, factoring, invoice discounting, because it's backed with some instrument. Could be invoices, could be checks, could be factoring invoices, so like that. So then that's an ideal product. But POD, when you give a POD to finance debtors, that doesn't match with the operational requirement. The customer can anytime write a check and get the money, may not intended to support the debtors. So as a banker, so what you need to do is you need to lend the product to suit borrower's need, not necessarily what the borrower asked for. Right. That's the main areas that I want to discuss with you. So these are additional readings. So we'll discuss some more important products also. And I invite you to go through in detail and be thorough with these products, because these things are very important in terms of exam. So we'll discuss those things. Before that, let me know any questions that you have come across in discussing these first few slides. That's about definition, importance, role played by, lending, banking, new trends, and golden rule. Those are the things that we have discussed. Any questions before moving to the product descriptions? Any questions? It's clear? Yeah, Amila has asked, can you please elaborate on the fact you mentioned as activities in the diagram? Right. Good question. Amila, what I mentioned was, like, let's say a customer, initially we can say segments like agriculture, or maybe industries, or maybe services. That's in major, we can say these are the sectors the customer can broadly identify. So when you go into within that, then the activity could be what exactly the customer is doing. Say running a hotel, or maybe operating hardware, or maybe running a workshop, so operating agricultural farm. So like that, that basically will come down the main sector to subsector. So within that, you can understand what type of business activity he needs financing. Say whether he needs a financing to, let's say if you take, we run in a paddy mill. So mainly agriculture. So paddy milling is a kind of subsector. Then activity could be, so he needs financing to purchase a color separator, or polishing machine, or maybe dryer. So that's what we need to say activity. Or he needs money to purchase paddy to support working capital. That's another activity. So he needs some money to, let's say, export some value-added rights to, say, whatever, Pakistan or Maldives. That's another activity. So what we are trying to do here is, we're trying to understand big picture, what industry, then within that you have subsector. So within that you have now activity. Now when you know that the customer is in agricultural sector, individual customer into paddy milling as subsector, and doing these 1 or 2 activities. So he needs money to purchase capex, and he needs money to working capital. Then you go to a next circle. Say what type of categories of lending you have. You have asset-based lending, fee-based lending, working capital, collateral-based, project-based. So there may be several other categories also. Here it switches to collateral-based or asset-based lending because he needs capex, or cash flow-based lending because he needs working capital. Fine. Go to the next level, where you have number of products there. Pledge loan, STL, term loan, LC. So that also could be useful to arrange the type of financing requirement. Further cycle could be terms of condition. What type of security, what is the tenor, pricing, what's the cash flows method, with the sinking fund, right? Whether you are getting some cash flow assignments from like Cargills and all that, if they provide in do that, or whether you say, when you are say paddy STL, so you are getting the hold over paddy stocking place. So those are the conditions. Insurance over paddy stock, maybe fire insurance like that. So those are the terms and conditions. So like that, when you are thinking in that way, you have already thought about the structuring as well. Then you have minimized your risk while structuring a credit to customer. Right. Very good question, Amila. Any other questions? Any idea about the model? Okay. Anything about Tarindu, Malaka, Dilanja? Any questions? I know these are not difficult areas, but you need to know those things very focus. I mean, with the very concrete sort of knowledge is required, because based on that, all the other questions being developed or set for the exam, right? So you can just think about the questions, and then you can develop your own model. Thanks, Tarindu. Right. So then we'll move to the next area. Just we'll discuss 1 or 2 products so that you can continue. Before that, I will again give you kind of a model in case examiner wanted a kind of the write a short note, which he has asked every time. So you also have a some approach to write a short note. So I will give 1 or 2 points. So based on that, you can learn these products, right? When the examiner asks to write a short note about, say, whatever we'll say factoring, or maybe post-dated checks, or maybe term loan, like that. So you need to write at least 3 or different lines. The first one could be something about introduction, maybe main features. The OD, what is OD? What is term loan? What is post-dated check discount? What is factoring? So one line statement you can give. Number 2, it could be say nature, type of product. Like if it's a OD, it could be temporary OD, casual OD, permanent OD, like that. So you can describe the nature, right? About, when you say term loan, whatever you can say, it's term loan is generally we give to finance capex requirement. Introduction. When it comes to the nature, you can say the term loans could be extended tenor, so there may be medium term loan, long term loan. When you say medium term loan, it's up to 4 to 5 years. Maybe long term loan, it could be 7 to 10 years, like that. Some features, nature. Then you can come up with advantages and disadvantages of the particular product. In the term loan, what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages? So it could be in terms of customer, it could be in terms of bank. Say if you take term loan, for example, advantages could be for customer, example, so you need to not to pay immediately, like short-term loan. So it could be installment basis, a kind of a loan. So extended period is beneficial for customer. But as a bank, there is a disadvantage because when you give a longer period, there is a risk on that type of loan in recovery. Hence, you need a kind of a security kind of thing. Right? Then also you can mention about risk and mitigants. Any risk attached to, not every product attached to risk, but with the delivery, the methodology, the structuring, there may be risk in the particular lending. In the term loan, since it's long term, there's a risk in recovery. But the mitigation could be, so we'll back with the asset. So in terms of term loan, long term, you take a collateral. It's a mitigant. But overdraft, the risk is, it could be hardcore. Because you can't control the end use. These are the risks. To mitigate, what you can do is, you can ask the customer to route cash flows. You can ask the customers to have a sinking fund for cash build-up. You can ask the customers to keep some post-dated checks as additional security, some mitigants. Then finally could be illustration. Example. Say that you give an example of using the OD, using the term loan. In case it could be, let's say the customer, whoever the customer is into, like say, running a boutique shop, for day-to-day overhead requirements, you can provide a smaller limit of OD. So that's the example. But just to give an idea how we are going to use the particular product with respect to particular customer. So get my point. So like this, you also can have some different points while you learning the product. Say, in my note, you have 20-30 products described under the additional reading. So you can read those things and get memorized. But rather than memorizing as it is, you try to make it practical, like here. So think about the OD, think about the short-term loan, think about the term loan, think about post-dated checks, and then see in terms of application. As earlier diagram, you have circle, 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 go there and get a customer, get a sector, get a subsector, get an activity, get a type of lending, get a products, get a conditions. So you have answer here. When you do 1, 2, 3, 4 like that, so you will know that, what's the approach. Even when customer asks OD, now you know OD. What could be the riskiest here? Could be hard code. What's the mitigant? Routing the cash flows, routing the PTC, sinking fund, security. What are the advantages? OD, very easy. Operationally, nothing to worry about that. Disadvantage, end use cannot be ensured. Disadvantage, as a bank. A customer, operation perspective, easy. Disadvantage is the customer is also uncontrollable. Because he don't know where I am getting money, when to settle kind of thing. A financial discipline is missing now as a disadvantage in terms of customer. You're getting my point? So when you have like this, you will learn it in that way. Like OD, what are the nature? What is OD? Is say anytime demand. It could be with a limit or without a limit, short term. That's what the introduction. What are the nature, type of categories? Temporary OD, casual OD, permanent OD are some of the categories. So like this, when you are thinking in an orderly manner, whenever it comes to the exam, so you can easily say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a standard way of answering. But the examiner could go beyond that. Examiner might say, the earlier circles can combine with this. He might say, the customers are into agricultural sector, into rice milling or paddy milling. You're supposed to provide or develop a product to suit the customer's working capital requirement while minimizing the bank's risk. Discuss. So then you have to write a short note. So now very easy. You can easily give example. You can say easily give introduction. So easily you can say type of nature and like this mitigant advantages. You can link it to the particular industry, particular business activity. You getting my point? Because that is the way that we need to learn this and get into your mind. Otherwise, if you want to write a short note or whatever, just go to Google and so everything is there. No, nothing to worry. No need to memorize. But examiner also, asking the question in that way, whether he needs to see whether you can apply. What is your application capability? That's what he's trying. So if you are trying to answer 1, 2, 3, 4 lines, one sentence each, different areas, you can get 5 marks. That's what we need to. So this is again important, a short note type answer when the examiner wanted us to discuss the product categories. So probably we will undertake this type of questions when we do past paper discussions. But here I wanted to give this insight before we are discussing 1 or 2 products, because before you are discussing, right? So we have to have this in idea, your mind, right? Whenever you are trying to memorizing, whenever you want to going through the products, so make sure you have your order. This is not the only way, but think it in differently. How that I am presenting the answer for exam. Any questions? Any questions? Right. So then we'll move to 1 or 2 products, but there are number of products here, right? You can read through all whenever you have time, like type of credit, like classification, detailed description of selected products. That's other mainly 2 categories here. When you say categorize, As I was telling about, match terms, borrower's needs. Long term with long term, short term with short term. That's general proposition. Let's say the customer's financing requirement is long term, as Anil asked. So the activity is to support long term. Yeah, you could go with the long term financing products. Customer want the shorter term financing requirement, then you go with the short term working capital related products. And then this direct, indirect, you know that, facilities could be categorized mainly direct advances and indirect advances. The direct is basically you cash going out. Indirect is a contingent liability. Direct advances, examples, loans, ODs. Type of ODs, I was mentioning about, permanent OD, temporary OD, casual overdraft. So you can discuss those things and get an idea, right? Maybe one line would do, but it's important because sometimes the examiner would ask to write a short note on term lending, overdraft, factoring, short-term loan, LCs, packing credit loan. So like that, he has asked several questions. But recent past also that he is like asking us to write more context-related question, like particular sector, a customer, financing need, write a short note on OD. So then you need to couple the nature, standalone OD into the particular context. Bank guarantee, right? Definition, right? You can read through. The type of advances based on repayment. That's what we say when you say a customer could be given a loan. So if the repayment tenor is more than 1 year, we call this as a term loan. It's a medium and long term. A customer is going to repay within 1 year. It's a short term loan, right? Based on securities. Like, so here basically I have done in different classification, right? Because based on security, based on tenor, based on purpose, direct, indirect, like that. So I have done it maybe 7 to 8 segments. You can read through those things, right? Then this is the financial products. If it's a long term, short term, asset base. So Amila, that this is what I have been talking through about the activity, right? To finance fixed asset, permanent working capital comes with grace period, collateral base. So this is basically activity we are talking about. So why we are talking about the activity, then it is easy to match the product with customer requirement. Then you can't say it's a customer, agricultural, farmer, so give term loan kind of thing. No. Agriculture, farmer, paddy milling, capex financing. For that also you can give a term loan or you can give a lease or hire purchase. So to that extent you need to structure. Otherwise, for all the capex, term loans are not suitable. Right? If they want the machine to like harvesting, so ideally it could be through a leasing or hire purchase than a term loan. With a vehicle, tractor, whatever, it's good to give a leasing to think about the recovery. But the customer want a warehouse, the customer want to purchase a dryer, put up a dryer, or maybe a polisher. So that is maybe possible through a term loan against a property. So getting my point. So like that. So develop those insights. So then you get more idea. So then working capital facilities. Yeah, you can discuss about what is working capital, and these things actually we will be discussing in a separate section about working capital, how to compute working capital cycle and those things. But here I just shown them as a working capital, and then there may be the products that you can discuss for under this section, right? So the factoring, so it's factoring, invoice discounting, and all that you can read through because there are a number of products here. Sometimes the examiner has asked it, so I have included for your perusal. But as you may not requiring to memorize those things day one, but throughout the course, it is good that if you can read through familiar and get an idea. Trade financing, another area where under the working capital, import, export, and bonds. So import financing, it's basically LC, shipping guarantee, post-import kind of. exporter basic packet credit and e-bill purchasing, bonds like bid bond, performance bond, advance payment and maintenance bond. So those are important in terms of trade financing and bonds, because SME customers, yes, they do require different products. So again, you can, I think I have given most of the things in notes, so you can read through whenever you have time. But I'm not going to discuss all those things during the class because it takes a lot of time. But if you go through and if you do have any queries while you are discussing, going through, please let me know. It's not necessarily for the next week, but even later stage we have issue, so we will come back and discuss, right? However, we will do maybe 10 to 15 products in detail when we do past papers, because those products have been continuously testing. So then we can take extra input, extra effort, and we'll discuss those things when we discuss past papers. But these things for your reading whenever you have time. Nothing to asset-based financing, leasing. I think I have included everything. This slide also put as an important slide. This one, this is slide 65, because this is how you are going to what do you call memorize, or maybe a kind of a summary of the type of products, where you have fund-based, fee-based on this side. Fund is basic on balance sheet, fee is off balance sheet. And when you say fund-based and and fee-based, another two columns, corporate, wholesale, or SME type of financing facilities come in here, and consumer, retail, personal come in here. So you have 4 quadrants. So under 4 quadrants, we have put several products we have in the banking book. So what you need to do is, when you are like memorizing, so at least you need to have 3-4 products here, 3-4 products here, 2 products or 3 products here, 3 products here. So like that, so you can see when you go to the past papers also, the examiner is asking some frequent regular products. So you can put it into these quadrants and make sure that you know all those things. Maximum, say 12 to 15 products will do. Though here I have given about 50 odd products, but need not to memorize everything, right? When we do past papers also, you can get what are those products, because the examiner has continuously testing, right? But make sure you need to at least you have covered 2 products under each quadrant, right? So example, if you talk about, say, letter of credit, it is common for consumer, retail, personal here, and LC is coming here also, because corporate, SME, wholesale financing product, letter of credit is one product, consumer, retail, personal also letter of credit one product. And about bank guarantees and bonds, again common to both. So like that, if you know about bank guarantees, if you know about bonds and LCs, which cover both wholesale banking, SME banking versus consumer retail. So in that way, it's easy to memorize. When come to the consumer, housing loan is very commonly checked, or leasing very commonly checked. So when you say housing loan and leasing, is basically it's coming to consumer, or maybe leasing again coming to this as well. So when you know leasing, it's easy to cover 2 areas. So that's how you need to read through, because I just want to show this later, because it's good that if you at least you go through once or twice about all those products, just to get an insight. What is the products available, the basic description, importance, where it could be useful. And for exam purposes, yes, we can learn maybe 10 to 12 products or 12 to 15 products based on what the examiner has so far given, and also as our model where to fit in, right? At least when you see this diagram, you need to know at least 3 products for the each quadrant, so that the life would be easy. So when you say 3 products, so maybe 2 products here, and again it's common for 2 products here. So you don't want to worry very much on that. And then you can select some more product maybe in the top of the quadrants and get further learned. So that's it. So any questions? I'm not going to, as I was telling, I'm not going to detail about the products, but you can select maybe 1 or 2 and start reading. When come to the question sessions, yes, we will select maybe whatever the questions that examiner has given, and then we will discuss that. Right. Any questions on today's session? Any question? Roshika, Oshani, Karindu? Anything to clear? Basically, what we have done today is something about SME banking, SME financing related. So next week, actually, we could continue with the SME banking in a different area, where that is all about the sources of financing for the SMEs, right? Where how the SMEs get the financing, and with that we may be able to sum up the SME session, and later again we can come back to discuss about SME, about issues faced by SME and those things, because which is generally tested in the past paper. So that is what basically I'm planning to do with the SME, and after that we can move to the microfinancing. So with that, basically we can complete SME and microfinancing, then we can move to project financing area. I did get meso. What's Malaka meso means? Meso financing. I haven't heard that. What do you mean by meso? Basically, generally, what we have today is we don't have exact definition for the microfinancing, because they are actually they are REASE Act, which is not fully operational, but institution to institutions that we have defined microfinancing type facilities, where you are trying to give maybe financing facilities up to 500,000. So that will come as a microfinancing proposition. And what type of the activity may not exactly important there, but type of the amount could be a maximum of 500,000. So below that, we do group financing and sort of thing will come under the micro. Like even the cooperative society type of financing also coming under the micro. But all the rest, the other, it could be small and medium and high-end SME financing. I haven't heard about meso financing, but if you exactly know me what type of the criteria, the type of undertaking, then we can think about whether to categorize under SME or micro. But going by what you mentioned, probably the small ticket, then it could be a microfinancing proposition. Any questions other than that? Okay, so then let's conclude for today's session, and then we'll meet next week with the SME sources of financing. If you wanted to add to that WhatsApp group, please let me know. So I'll add your number there as well. There may be some other, different community there. Most of our banking students. So then you can share whatever the information whenever you get related to exams or about general trends in the market. So thank you very much for being with me. So let's meet next week at 8 o'clock. So stay safe. Thank you again.